A man is judged by his actions, not his words. I can get on here and talk all I want about discipline, self-control, about love Yahuwah. Praise be his name with whole heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your fellow man as you love yourself. I could talk on and on for days about this. But it's what I do when the camera gets shut down. What I do behind the scenes. That's what counts. A man is judged not by those words. He's going to be judged in the end by his deeds, by what he does, by how he acts, by how he executes in this illusion. Is he true to his words? Is he true to the word of Yahuwah, Yahusha, praise be his name, the Most High? Hallelujah. A man that has a good heart, a true heart, a kind heart, a gentle heart, a warm heart, will ultimately produce good, wholesome, productive, prosperous, generous, and loving things. No matter how wayward that man goes. But a man with a dark heart, with an evil heart, with a depraved heart, will produce nothing but poison and bile and venom, no matter how good what he does looks. No matter what it seems to be. In the end, when you bite into that apple, it'll be rotten and filled with worms and maggots. A good tree will always, in the end, produce good fruit. Yahuwah, Yahusha, praise be his name, Son of the Most High, Hamashiach, the Messiah, tells a story, a parable, where he says to the Pharisees, those hypocrites, those liars that worship with their lips, not with their hearts, he says to them, there's a father who has two sons, and he tells one son, he says, go into the vineyard, go into my vineyard and tend to it. Today, you will work in the vineyard. And that son says, no, Father, I will not. But then later on, he repents. And he goes to work in the field for the day. The father goes to the other son. And he says, son, I want you to go to work in the vineyard today. And that son says, yes, Father. Yes, Adonai. Absolutely. Can't wait. I'm going to go right now. I'm paraphrasing here. But that son who is full of wonderful words, words that appease, words that please, he doesn't go into the field. He doesn't go into the vineyard. He doesn't do any work. And so Yahuwah, Yahusha, Hamashiach, the Messiah, Yahuwah, manifested in the flesh, says to the Pharisees, which of those two sons did the Father's will? Adhered to the Father's wishes, did the Father's desire? And of course we know the Pharisees say the first one. what he was showing those Pharisees in a parable is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what kind of show you put on. It doesn't matter how you talk and how you hold yourselves holy above all others. It doesn't matter how high upon the pedestal you are. It doesn't matter what positions in the set-apart place you inhabit. You're no better than anyone else. It doesn't matter what you seem to be. It doesn't matter how much you adhere to how much you seem to be adhering to the traditions and the laws and the rules of men. You will be judged by your fruits. And the Father, Abba, Elohim, the Most High, judges you and sees you wanting and bereft, hypocrites and liars who only put on a show, who only talk a big game, who place the burden of an insurmountable number of man-made rules, regulations, and traditions upon man, and ignore the commandments of the Father. So it doesn't matter, my people, it doesn't matter how many resolutions you make. When I say you, I mean me, I mean us. I'm just talking out loud here. I'm talking rhetorically. But it doesn't matter how many resolutions we make. It doesn't matter how many promises we make. It doesn't matter how many commitments we make. It doesn't matter how often we say we're going to stop drinking. It doesn't matter how often we say we're going to stop drugging. It doesn't matter how often we say that we're going to stop watching pornography. It doesn't matter how often we say, how often we promise, how often we make a resolution that we're going to start to work out and train the temple, the creation that the Most High, that the Father, that Yahusha, praise be his name, has given us, that we're going to honor and revere the temple, the hardware, this creation that he blessed us with. Doesn't matter how much we shout to the world that we're going to start training to strengthen the temple. It doesn't matter how many times we promise that we're going to go on a diet or start eating clean, start eating wholesome, good, single ingredient foods, Yahuwah's natural foods. Doesn't matter how often we say we're going to eschew junk food. Doesn't matter how many times we promise that we're going to stop staying out late, we're going to stop partying, we're going to stop all this nonsense, we'll stop fooling around, we're going to get serious, we're going to start waking up early. Doesn't matter how many goals you make, how many targets you set, how many objectives you write down. None of it matters. What matters in the end is what you do. And so a simple way to get on this path of being a man of action, simple thing you can do to get on that path. Because again, it doesn't matter how much I say here, how much I shout from the rooftops, how much motivational words I say, how much inspiring thoughts I pour out onto this camera. It doesn't matter how robust and dynamic I get, how much energy I'm filled with and how much I'm projecting. Doesn't matter how many loud words I scream or how high and how low my voice goes. None of it matters. What matters is, again, when I turn this camera off, how do I act? How do I execute? How do I conduct myself? What is it that you actually do when no one's looking? Are you true to your words? Are you true to your character? Are you true to your values? So here's a simple thing you could do to set the tone for how you should be acting, how you should be conducting, how you should be executing. How many of us will walk around the house and we'll see something on the floor, a little crumb, a toothpick, something, a tiny piece of something or another on the food, a grain of rice on the floor. And we'll just walk by and let someone else deal with it. Hell, I used to do that all the time. No one's looking. Someone else will get to it. How often will we leave something a bit unkempt or unclean because someone else is going to do it? So here's a simple thing you could start doing. You see something on the floor, pick it up. You see something out of place, straighten it out. This goes for me as well. I talk out loud. It's these simple things. I think if I have it right, and I might get it wrong, so forgive me, but I think it's Admiral McRaven, former Navy SEAL, who wrote this book. I think it's something to do with, or he gave this great speech about make your bed. The power of just making your bed. You get up in the morning and making your bed. The power of doing that. Not just not making it, leaving it as is, going out and then coming home to a messy bed. You get up, the first thing you do is you make your bed. It's the same principle. What do you do when no one's looking? How do you treat your surroundings? How do you treat people? What's your character like? Do you wake up when no one knows you're going to wake up at 3:30 in the morning, at 4 in the morning, at 4:30 in the morning, at 5 in the morning, because you promised to, but you know no one will know if you sleep a little bit extra? Do you do it? Do you sleep late anyway? Because who's going to know? You cheat on a meal? Who's going to know? You have a sip of wine? Who's going to know? If you've made promises to turn your life around and walk the straight and narrow path, surrender to Yahushua, ask Him to direct you, to guide you, to show you how to live your life in a manner that pleases Him most. Who's going to know? If you make these small infractions, who's going to know if no one's looking? Who's going to know when the camera's off? Yahushua, the Most High, knows your heart, and you know your heart. You have to look yourself in the mirror. Become a man of action.